Okay, so now we go into to requirement 2, which the question has sort of cornered us. Right, so they never tell us like you can use two of any policies of your choice. They actually said, hey, can you please use vouchers? Right, okay, so fine, we explain how vouchers help people cope with the spike in the price of sugar. Okay, so what are these vouchers, right? So vouchers are basically in-kind transfers. Okay, in-kind transfers is like a chim word. In-kind transfers are basically saying, I give you money, but you can only use it for a specific purpose, right? So in this case, they can then redeem it for sugar, lah, right? So they can provide these vouchers to targeted segments of people. So presumably these are the lower income households, and then you give them vouchers, right? So the more of these lower income households can buy sugar, right? So how does this improve affordability? Is that even if consumers cannot afford to pay P1, which is the initial price, they can still purchase it because these vouchers are equivalent to cash. Okay, so what is this P1 and diagram? Later we'll get to that. But basically with these vouchers, the willingness and ability of these consumers to buy sugar will increase. And so then the demand curve will rise from D1 to D2. And as a result, the quantity consumed by lower income households of sugar will rise from Q1 to Q2. Okay, so this diagram here that you see in these square brackets will look like this. So we're going to draw it. So here, we're going to draw a regular demand and supply curve, right? So Q and P. And you have a supply curve and demand curve. So the initial demand and supply was at Q0 and P0. But you remember that in this case, the low income households couldn't buy the sugar, right? So this is the market. Sorry, this is the market for sugar. And you put bracket low income households. So previously, these low income households, they couldn't buy the sugar at P0. Right, so what you do, you give them vouchers, which will then give them the ability to buy the sugar, because even though previously they couldn't buy at P0, now they can buy it. So then the demand curve would shift to D1 here, right? And now you have this new equilibrium where now more low income households can buy this sugar from Q0 to Q1. Right? Of course, you have a corresponding price of P1 instead. So previously, only Q0 low-income households could buy the sugar, but now Q1 low-income households can buy the sugar, right? Which is here. So Q1 to Q2 in this case. Yeah, so you just relabel it. So what happens is that the provision of vouchers will help lower-income households to cope with the rising prices by increasing their ability to afford sugar, i.e. allowing them to buy Q1 or Q2 quantities of sugar instead. Okay, at this point I want to really address kind of like the elephant in the room, right? Which is that, you know how for the price ceiling, we focus on the lowering of prices, right? But for this case, we focus on the quantity. Why? So because you have to be smart about it. Because if you focus on prices, you'll notice that prices have increased, right? If prices have increased, right, that goes against your affordability narrative, the story that you want to tell, right? So the story you want to tell is that they are able to cope, right? So to show that they're able to cope, you want to focus on the green color stuff instead and change your explanation accordingly. Okay, so that's the reason why you will see for vouchers, I focus on the Q to address the coping mechanism rather than the P. Okay, so I really just want to address that. Because for vouchers, the P doesn't tell the story that you want. So no choice, we have to focus on the Q. Okay? Okay, so after you do that, we explain how vouchers work. Okay, again, here, I think I should have placed another point here, which is you have to learn the elaboration. Right, you really have to learn the elaboration. So it looks very easy, but once you turn it off, we realize you can't generate the same level of depth, right? So please learn the elaboration as well. Okay, the diagram I think should be quite simple. So after we do R2, the next thing we want to do is to evaluate, which is if vouchers are so great, why don't all governments do it? So the first reason is because of constraints. That not all governments will have the funding required to give people the vouchers. Because in order for the vouchers to really help the low income households buy them, you need to be very, very significant. Right? And not all governments are able to do that, and they face something called fiscal constraints. Fiscal just means government money. Right? So they face constraints with regard to their own government finances. Okay, so let's say you have all the money in the world. I mean, not all the money, but you have the amount of money to give to the sugar lah, right? But then even if that you can do that, you might not want to, because there are opportunity costs and trade-offs. If you spend $1 million on sugar vouchers, it means that you're taking away money from healthcare, right? Which could be a better use of your resources lah. Okay, so here our evaluation comes from two things. One is we use constraints. Right. And the second one is we use trade-offs. Okay, so why are these like legit evaluation points? Because these are part of your decision-making model. So you can use like some of the decision-making stuff to frame the evaluation as well. And using these kind of like, this is like buzzwords. Using buzzwords like this help with the evaluative elements. Okay? Trade-offs and constraints. Okay, after we do that, we're going to get to, so far we've done R1, EV1, R2, EV2, which is the vouchers. So finally we're going to end up with the conclusion. Okay, so for the conclusion, I'm going to start off firstly, we're going to have a new paragraph. We're going to start off in conclusion. Okay, so signpost very clearly that you're concluding. I'm going to say that even though vouchers have limitations, but they are more appropriate than the price ceiling. Right? Because if in a price ceiling you realize, even though you bring prices down, less people can enjoy it. Right? So if you go all the way back to the price ceiling, last time Q0 people can buy it. Now only QS people can buy it. But of course they buy at a lower price, but there are actually less people that can buy it. Okay? Okay, so that's the first thing, right? So I would say vouchers are more appropriate. So what I'm doing here, firstly, is a stand. Okay, so conclusions. If you watch the revision package videos, you will realize that I said, first thing you want to do is you signpost, which we have done, right? And I'd like people to start off to have a stand or answer the question directly, which we are doing here lah. Or ATQ very directly. The last thing you want to do is you can use techniques or buzzwords. So here I have given you the most, I've extracted from the answer key the most the one that's easiest to use, which is short run, long run. Here. Okay, so how can we have a comment about long run, short run? So here I'm gonna say that actually I guess you can have a mix of bringing prices down through the price ceiling and then giving bill vouchers, but you know this is not a long-term solution, right? You're gonna run out of money if you use the vouchers, and if you use a price ceiling, you're gonna have black markets emerge so sooner or later, because people are willing to pay a lot higher prices than that. So what is the best way to bring down food prices is actually to give grants for research and development to increase the supply. So all this will help to increase supply. And then you know that when there's an increase in supply, there's going to be a fall in the price of sugar. This is the best way to bring down the price of sugar. The price of sugar was increasing because sugarcane harvest was very, very poor. Right? So you want to do R&D in sugarcane production to address the root cause. Right? So you can frame it in the root cause kind of way, or you can frame it in the long run, short run kind of way. I feel this is the best one of the easiest techniques to use. And I encourage you to use it if it's possible to use for conclusion. Okay, so that brings me to the end of this particular question.